Welcome to another episode of the Law Firm Altering Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. And if you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about when your employee is desperate and committed to making life easier on you as an entrepreneur and as the attorney. My guest today is Jessica Henry, team leader, entrepreneur extraordinaire, and Medicaid paralegal of the Ard Law Firm in Houston and the Galveston, Texas area. The Ard Law Firm is very, very niche specific in regards to creating crisis planning and veterans planning only. Jessica was hired with the law firm, the Ard Law Firm, 8 years ago, and she assists in the Medicaid application process and is very, very busy with that area of the practice. In fact, she told me today that they are just at capacity. They are booming. They are thriving in a very, very busy practice. And still, she's able to serve as a team leader as well. And she's going to speak about that today and what that really means. And even though Jessica's very heavy in the processing role of applications, in addition to leading the team, the calendar, etc. She also enjoys working very closely with each and every client to meet their individual needs. And she's built such a strong relationship with and yes, she does refer to every client in their firm as hers as well. So you're going to hear today how she's able to manage the relationships with the clients in addition to keeping her law firm on track while also working in the file and processing files, which many, many employees can really resonate with. Jessica's also going to share with us how she got to where she is today. And you're really going to love her fascinating story of how she began this journey 8 years ago, from the interview all the way to where she is today, leading her law firm in her number one goal of making life easier on her attorneys. So welcome, Jessica.
Hi, Molly. Thank you so much. I'm excited to share with you guys how we got started and how I started with the firm.
Yes, I can't wait for people to hear. I know during a lot of our pre-calls that we had in regards to, and I really wish we would have recorded that first prep call that we did about a month or so ago.
Awesome.
I know everything you were saying. I'm like, wait. Oh God, don't forget to say that on the podcast. So many employees can resonate with that. So tell us, why don't we just kick off? Tell us.
Okay, so I was going to paralegal college, and the week that I was graduating, I had noticed on the board that Sandra Ard, attorney here in Dickinson, Texas, was hiring. I thought, oh my gosh, how perfect. I live in Dickinson. It would be wonderful. So, of course, I called on a Wednesday. I jumped right on it, and they scheduled me to come in the next day, Thursday, for an interview. And the interview was absolutely amazing. Sandy and I clicked. Her husband was absolutely a delight. From that very first interview, they kind of set the foundation for what would be my whole career here with her. And Darren had let me know that my position would be whatever means necessary to make life easier for Sandy. She had a very busy schedule between being in the conference room, marketing events, workshops, different things that were going on, and it would be my position to be the face of the firm and any means necessary to keep her, and also with the follow through, if we tell a client and promise something, making sure that that gets done. So that started 8 years ago, and on that Thursday when I went in for the interview, they called me later that day and asked me to start that same Friday. So I called on a Wednesday, interviewed on a Thursday, and started on a Friday. And it's just been absolutely amazing. So whenever I first started the position, that it was just her at the time. She had just let go of a person that she had running the front desk, and that was her only employee. There were so many things that were not working out, and she had to let them go. So when she hired me, she was very strict on the 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day reviews. She was very clear on what she wanted and what she didn't. I learned very fast what she liked, and I made sure to do that. And I made sure once I made a mistake at what she did not like, I tried to never do that again. So she was very clear. And that was one thing that was very refreshing from a boss, was to be clear. From that moment, she promised me that within 6 months, she would hire somebody else for the front and move me to the back. Because I had just graduated paralegal school, it was very important to me to be in that position. Almost 6 months to the day, we actually hired somebody. We had done several interviews, found what she felt and would work with us as a team for the front desk. Within that 6 months, then I moved to the back. And from there, about every 6 months, we added a person for a period of time. We are at this point, we have several paralegals, support team, and it's still just Sandy, and which is great. We all work very well as a team, and everybody's goal is to make life easier on Sandy. I'm the team leader here. I have an 8 follow through on the Colby test. So, and learning about Colby has gotten me to the point to understand that I am in the right role. Sandy sets the foundation. I make sure that everybody follows it. I also handle my own caseload, because throughout the years, Sandy has taught me from the ground level of a Medicaid application all the way up to spin downs and the client meetings and planning. So we have just been very grateful that we are so busy. We've tried to have really good controlled growth and just continue going forward.
Wow. So much that you said there, Jessica, that I really want to unpack for our listeners today, because there's some really wonderful liquid gold for both the employer and the employee here. So first and foremost, Darren, again, is Sandy's husband, who also works very, very heavily in regards to community outreach within the firm. And, he's been coined as the, what is it? The banana bread?
He is our marketing as well. He's our marketing, and he does all of our marketing. And what he does is he does all of our signings. So we have a drafting paralegal that's actually virtual. And then we have an in-office paralegal that gets everything prepped for him and handles his calendar. And then he goes to the nursing homes to do all the signings. So this way, while he's there, he's dropping off cards, he's shaking hands, he's bringing cookies. He's also making that close interaction to stay close with them so that they are wanting to refer to us as an ongoing basis.
Yes, I remember way back when I first met Darren and Sandy, I think he said they coined him as the bread boy, because he was always bringing loaves of wonderful banana bread and pumpkin bread.
And we do different things with the season, and they're very up with that. And we do spicy pecans at Christmas. And so all the business office managers are calling, when am I going to get mine? So, and it's been very nice.
So let's start with where you started. So number one, in the interview process, it was very clear and concise. It communicated to you that your job is to make life easier on your attorney, on Sandy, on the boss. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means for you?
Sure. That means that from the first client interaction, I would treat them and handle the case and handle the situation as I feel Sandy would. So that whole saying, what would Sandy do? Okay. Because a lot of times she may be in a client meeting and I have to make a decision. And if it's something that, I feel that I would know what her answer would be and what she would recommend, then that's where I come in. The rest of the team, they all reflect to me for that. When they can't get her, they reach out to me and I have to provide an answer. So it's a lot of, since I know her at this point, I feel that I try to always make the best decisions as they come, whether it's make sure that her files are correct for her. I do a lot of the training for the new team members. Some things just as simple as making sure she has lunch. When her meeting rolls over, it's like, hey, have you eaten? That kind of thing, because she's so busy and she may not even stop to think. It's just that extra care that needs to go in to support the person who is putting forth all this effort to provide this roof over our head for the whole office.
And I love that you mentioned earlier that training the new employees and taking that on as an entrepreneur. And you said every 6 months, almost to the date, we were able to add somebody to the team and hire somebody, and you communicating to them, cloning, if you will, yourself, knowing that your job is to make life easier on the attorney, because not from a place of hierarchy, and not that they're more important than your role, so to speak, but also because there's a trickle down effect. If they're stressed out, they're hungry, they're in back-to-back appointments, they haven't had anything to eat, their files are not set up the way that makes it really easy for them to navigate that meeting, be present with the attorney. That's when entrepreneurs get accused of being micromanaging, lack of trust, nothing's ever good enough. These are just certain things that I hear over and over again, and that they're demanding, what have you. That you, even in that interview, Jessica, you said that what really stuck out to you is how clear was the word that you used. It really stuck out to me how clear Sandy was about what she didn't want, what didn't work with previous employees, and stuck very, very, very hard to the 30, 60, 90 goals to make certain that she had an opportunity to debrief with you what's working, what's not working, and you being able to emulate that in every person that comes aboard your law firm.
Right, absolutely. And at each review, she literally had just that, a chart, left side, right side. One side said what's working, what's not. And so it was very clear to me what she liked, and it was very clear what she didn't. And so I would work on those things, and I know that that's where I need improvement. And since that, now as I see the other team members, and since I know what she wants, a lot of the work gets passed through me before it goes to Sandy for review, because I know how she wants it. And I make sure that everything is just so that by the time she takes her time to review it, it's good to go.
And in regards to the past employee or the previous employee prior to you that you said was a nightmare, that really wasn't working out, they had to let her go. You obviously, they interviewed you and they said, great, you got a job, you're starting on Friday, get in here and we have a lot to get done. Many times I hear from employees when they hear about a prior employee, what didn't work with them, or there's stories that rumble through the hallways about what they didn't do and how they were such a nightmare, for a lack of a better term. People use that as, I'm going to say, an excuse to say, well, nothing's ever good enough for the attorney, or so-and-so didn't do a great job, so how can anyone live up to that? And you really took a unique spin on that data, that information in regards to what didn't work with the previous employee, and turned it into an enormous win. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, and we had spoken about all of that and the previous employee and how they would speak to their mom and use foul language at the front desk and, be kind of rough with clients and not have that hand-holding feel. And so when she told me all these things, I was just as outraged as she was. And I thought, oh my gosh, who would come in here and do that? So I thought, this is my opportunity to shine. This is me to show her that I'm going to be what you need and what the clients need, because I wanted to be in for the long haul. One job, one boss, one career, this was it for me. This is what I wanted. And so it was an opportunity to show me that. And so we had all this conversation. And then, of course, at the very end is when she had me do the Colby test. So the Colby test was rather easy for me because I felt that I need to show her who I am and how I work. And I want her to see in a number score that I am what she needs, because I am nothing like this previous employee. It was like a bar that it set it, and I was able to exceed what she wanted in regards to who I am as a person. And I think a lot of it with the type of field that we are, elder law, a lot of our clients, we do primarily crisis planning for Medicaid, for nursing home care. So what happens is they're in a medical crisis, they're in a financial crisis, crisis, they're hurting. And so when they come in, they're crying at the beginning, and when they leave, they're hugging us and smiling, and we're laughing. So it's the most rewarding career that I could have ever imagined for myself or for my family. And so at this point, I remember my meeting, and Sandy and Darren were explaining to me what they did and about the business. And Darren started crying. He had tears in his eyes, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm home. These are my kind of people. They're real. They have emotion. This is the kind of person that I feel that I am and that I emulate, and these are the exact people that I want to put my name as their, as Sandy's paralegal and their employee.
Employers, you attorneys, listen up. What Jessica just said, I think, is a big opportunity for your new employees as you hire new employees, and or your existing employees, if you don't have us in the fabric of your law firm, of taking the time. We're so conditioned as business owners to share about mission, vision, values. What a lot of people don't even share values, but mission and vision. And what I heard from you, Jessica, is sitting down with you and painting the picture and visually sharing with you about the business, not necessarily only the business goals from a strategic perspective, but why clients hire us, what to expect when people come in. They're emotionally charged. They're very scared. They have a tremendous amount of very, very heavy family issues that are crisis driven. And for your employer or teammate, colleague, your boss's husband to be sharing with you and be driven to tears just in communicating what you do. That alone, what the law firm does, that alone enrolls the right person. Like you said, it's a very, very empathetic, very compassion-driven model where your clients are treated like family. And for you to say, I am home. For
Absolutely.
you to say this is a career and to make that shift. So your why is so strong of when you say, my goal was to come in there and shine, not to be the teacher's pet, if you will, but because it does impact you as the employee. So they always say happy mom, happy home. It's the same thing. If the attorney feels cared for and they feel like you have their back, you have their front, you understand, because she was very, very clear on what didn't work in the past and what she wasn't going to tolerate and what she expected out of this position. Not only were you present, not only did you take it to heart, you were committed to emulating that for every single employee that walked through your door going forward. It's 6 months. Every 6 months you were adding to your team. And how many people do you have on your team now?
So I believe we have 6 paralegals. Well, we have, I should have written that question down before we started. I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 in-office paralegals. We have 1 virtual drafting paralegal. We actually have 2 front desk client coordinators at this point because that position was so important that we didn't want one person struggling. We actually, when we hired the one for the front, we were going to move the front person to the back, but we found it more appropriate to have 2 up front. People are coming in, there's 2 people there. One's on the phone, one can help grab the documents. It's a lot less chaotic and there's a lot more control. So, and then we have Sandy and Darren.
Wow. So, and yourself, right? Would you include yourself as
I'm
one
included
of the
in the
paralegals?
4 paralegals. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then a virtual paralegal. So like 5 paralegals, 2 front desk, and then Sandy and Darren.
So you've grown, and I know I've been with you all for many, many years, and you've had some nightmare employees as well that came on the bus, right?
Absolutely. But the ones that we have now, except for our new front desk girl, everybody's been here over a year. I've been here 8. We've had a few over a couple years. So yeah, I mean, we have a really good group, and then figuring out where everybody goes and getting the right spot. that's been very key, and the division of the tasks to make sure everybody's doing what they want to do, because they have to enjoy what they're doing, and they have to understand what they're doing. So we try to train and train and train to make sure that they're comfortable with that position.
And speaking about what you want to do, so when we've spoke about this a few times, you were brought on in the interviewing process. Your employers were very, very clear on what they wanted, what they needed, and what they weren't going to tolerate. And you took that to heart. Talk to us a little bit about you finding your voice, so to speak. So often employees will get hired, and I hear this all the time. You're hired for X, and next thing you know, especially in a small office, you're doing X, Y, Z, and G. And sometimes resentment sets in, or they feel like, well, I was hired for this and now I'm doing this, this, and this. And they just suffer in silence, sometimes thundering silence, or they resent it versus sitting down and likewise having a very clear conversation with their attorney. And I loved when you shared that with me, because it was a turning point for the law firm to even level up and to grow. So can you talk to us a little bit about being hired, being the only employee in there, and being hired for X, taking on a bunch of additional things, and that pivotal point when you realized that you weren't doing your unique ability?
So for me, I think that's an individual thing. I know a lot of people may have an issue with taking on additional tasks, but for me, I was proud that I was given that opportunity. And so it was a way for me to show her that I could do whatever she put in front of me. And I'm the kind of employee, just tell me what you want and I'll do it, because I'm here for her. And so that's why it doesn't matter what tasks, I don't question them. One thing that I learned from Colby is that the foundation is already set. I'm not trying to recreate the foundation. If I feel that there are suggestions along the way or little tweaks based on, experiences I'm going through it, well, I would absolutely bring it to Sandy. But this is her foundation that she has, that I do as she says, and then there's no question. Unless I see where there could be a potential issue, then I try to come up with a solution and I bring it to her and we discuss. We also have team meetings, which helps center us and to be all on board with Sandy so that she sees what's going on kind of behind the scenes while she's in the conference room. Communication is key. Not being afraid to talk to your boss. If you have a problem or something that's not working, being able to go to them and say, this is not working. So, and then come up with suggestions together. But in the same swoop of coming to the boss to say something's not working, have several solutions of a way for it to work. Because I found that with the boss, their mind is in 100 different things. And if you don't have a solution through it or possible scenarios, then you're just bringing a problem. And then that comes down on the person bringing the problem rather than the actual problem. And then it's almost like a vicious circle. It never gets fixed.
Yeah, because a lot of times I love that where you say you bring the proposed solutions with the problems, because then it goes on a list with entrepreneurs, attorneys especially. They come out of back-to-back client meetings and there's a line, whether it's on a phone log, an email, employees lined up at your desk, referral source, whatever it means, of people needing you to fix and solve things. And so a lot of times I'll hear from people, I make suggestions, I let them know about X, Y, and Z, and nothing ever gets done with it. And to your point, if you come with a proposed solution and have it on a deadline, add it to your team meeting agenda, things of that nature. And again, making life easier on the entrepreneur and then asking if you could take the lead on it or at least get it to 80%, whatever it might be, then you're able to get what you need accomplished while also making life so much easier on the attorney.
Right. And then the comfort of the conversation of knowing it's being talked about, it's in the works. We're going to talk about it again next week, or I'll remind you even. So there's, next week, there's next month, there's different things than different deadlines, but just having that follow through and picking the best person in the office that has the best follow through to be that team leader, to make sure that everything is getting done. Especially all the great ideas that people throw out during team meetings that don't get implemented. That's where I come in and I'm like, okay, we talked about this last time. We need to get this implemented.
And that's a key right there for all of our listeners, employees and attorneys alike, entrepreneurs alike, is having that team leader, somebody with a strong follow through. If you're not familiar with Kolbe, KOLBE.com, and the Kolbe A Index, we'll have a link at the bottom of today's show notes. Highly recommend that you have every person, including yourself as the attorney, take the Kolbe to see who has the strongest follow through, because that's the biggest definition of having an employee that's there to make life easier on you. That role, so twofold, Jessica, that I'm hearing from you is number one of setting up the structure in regards to having either a weekly meeting, quarterly retreats, employee 30, 60, 90-day reviews, project growth time, things of that nature that you've instilled in your practice to serve as safety nets and confidence boosters for the attorney that you really can let go of control. You can focus on your top revenue producing activities because we have a handle. Not only do we have a handle on this, but you're coming in with data and with reporting and things of that nature that lets them know we're handling the day-to-day, but also here's what's coming at us next week, the week after, that we already have our eye on that ball, right?
Correct. And then the next thing to remember is the attorney can never be the team leader. If there's more than one person in the office, it's got to be somebody other than the attorney.
And so often employees will show up at the meeting and they'll expect the attorney to facilitate and lead the meeting. But then they'll have all this resentment or complaints about, well, we're not handling X, Y, and Z. And when you're on the front lines, you sat in the client services role. Now you've hired two people and trained them properly and onboarded them properly in regards to what that means. But so often the attorney has absolutely no idea what's going on the phone in the front desk, whether it be with a printer that continually jams up 72 times a day or whatever it might be. They don't know. They only know their limited view of the client and the conference room, right?
Right.
So another thing that I love that you did, so taking the lead as a team leader and talk to me about how you made that role standardized, if you will, in the fabric of the firm. So I've heard you talk a little bit about the team meetings, managing the client expectations. What would Sandy do in regards to setting up a file, communicating and nurturing the clients? But Anne, talk to us about the time template that you and I talked about in our pre-conference, and also the calendar. So you even said if she's hungry, you make sure that she has lunch. What are you doing in regards to making sure she's getting her work done? Because I always hear that's the biggest complaint, and being able to hold her accountable, honest, well, respectfully with that, and then just making certain that we're delivering on client promises while also paying attention to the calendar. Because as we all know, the calendar dictates cash flow and workflow.
Right. So one of the most important positions in the firm is the front desk. She is the gatekeeper for all of us on the phone and in person. So when it comes to the calendar, we have an ideal work week. Sandy has her ideal work week and I have mine, as well as the other team members that have meetings. We have set times that we do appointments, and typically we do not deviate. Of course, if there's a teacher and she needs to meet at 4:30 or 4 o'clock, we will make those exceptions. exceptions, but as a general rule, we have our time templates, we have our days that we do appointments, and if it's outside of that time, then we will not see them. Of course, if they pitch a fit or if there's a problem, we'll always work with somebody. But really respecting the calendar. So Sandy does 3 meetings a day. They're an hour and a half each. It is absolutely not fair for anybody on any planet to put her a 4th appointment. She's got to have time to be able to send her summaries and do her notes and do the major trusts that she drafts and anything else that comes with owning a business and taxes and all that. So the person up front has to be very kind, but very strong. And when somebody says, I have to get in tomorrow, they have to be able to recognize what a real emergency is. And if it is a real emergency, then absolutely, we try to see if another team member may be able to step in, kind of talk them off the ledge, and then get an appropriate time to meet with Sandy. Because it's not fair to her to work her like that when it may not be necessary. And the client can't control the conversation. We have to be strong enough to be able to protect the calendar and protect everyone that has to be doing those appointments. Their time is important, and we need to make sure that if they book to go out of town or go to a concert or different types of things that people plan off for, we must respect that. And it's all in the conversation.
So what would be some tips that you would give to our employee listeners and or to our attorney listeners in regards to how to empower and how to let go and give permission to your employee to support you and help you in making your life and practice easier?
So I think the most important thing is that we all know that no matter what, Sandy has our back. The whole thing, the customer's always right, is not really fit in a law firm. If somebody's calling up here demanding to talk to Sandy at 6 o'clock or noon on Saturday, and that's the only time they have, and they're being ugly or harassing the team, then we're not going to meet their expectations, and she's not going to expect us to, and she's going to support us. And so knowing that we have her support is very important, and that comes on an individual boss level. Is she always hears our side, and she absolutely protects us to the client if different things arise. Now, of course, there are certain people that certain times, of course, they can only do things. Well, then it's a case-by-case basis. But as a general rule, that's the way it is. And I think it's building up the team member to let them know, and of course, it comes with time as well, letting them know that you have my permission to protect my calendar. But that doesn't mean don't let her know if there's an emergency that's come up, because then, yes, you do need to plan it. So it's knowing what you can do on your own, what you have permission for, and knowing what you need to bring to her attention immediately, because certain people may need to get worked in, and those unreasonable expectations may have to be met.
So getting that permission, giving the permission and with the standards is what I'm hearing from you. So number one, in regards to really identifying what an ideal client looks like for us. So a bully, for a lack of a better term, calling and throwing their self around, you have permission to not, a lot of times employees will freak out and they're afraid, oh, this client's not going to hire us, they're going to badmouth us, whatever it might be. And you all protecting Sandy's time, because if you throw that person on her calendar, because you do have her standards around scheduling, that it's going to become a D level, F level client and not be a great, no matter what you do, they're still probably not going to be singing your praises, right, and sucking a lot of time, energy, staff, all your resources. And so having that confidence, because you have the standards up front in regards to not either putting them on her phone log and having her listen to them for an hour and or throwing them on a night or weekend, because when she does give you permission for after hour clients or a little bit of exceptions to your normal standards of of a time template, you want to make sure they're really grateful, quality clients that meet your persona that you've created for your clients.
Absolutely.
So one thing else that I heard you say in regards to not delegating back up is what I'm hearing. And you have full permission. You know her standards around the calendar. So this is something I hear from attorneys all the time and from employees. Even when I call law firms, I say, can I schedule an appointment with so-and-so? They'll say, well, he or she manages their own calendar. And I can say that is the biggest takeaway I'm hearing today. That
Definitely not. No, because she would book herself 4 appointments a day. She would book herself 5 appointments today because she really is like a superwoman. But that's not fair and that's not right. That's not quality of life. So that's where we come in to make sure that her calendar is protected. And an attorney should not do their calendar. It's about training the person in your office to be able to handle the calendar as if you would want them to, as if you were doing it yourself. It may take several weeks up front to get several years to where you don't have to worry about it as much, because I know that she still worries about the calendar, but we try to do the absolute best we can. And so it's important. The training is the number one thing. I found people, and the best people are not the smartest qualified people. The best people are the teachable, trainable, kind-hearted people that whatever you say goes, they'll do it. They don't question the process. If you say do it like this, okay, they do it like that. Those are the best employees that we've been able to find.
While they'll also make a suggestion for refinement and improvement too, right? They're not just a robot.
Right.
They have
Right.
One of I remember what you shared with me, Jessica, really, really stood out to me. Early on, when you were hired as a paralegal, you had just, like you said, just completed, you got your certificate, you worked so very hard, spent so much time, energy, money on that, came into the law firm, and you saw that there was once again, a bottleneck 6 months in where, okay, if I'm not going to add someone to dedicated client services. I've sat in several roles here. Talk to us a little bit about having the courage to go and sit down with Sandy. And again, to make life easier on her, but also to help her in growing her business, and that conversation that you had about really adding to the team, because sometimes employees will come in and say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overworked, we need to hire more people. Talk to us a little bit about how you crafted that conversation around the benefits for you, also for Sandy, and for growing the business and serving the clients.
So that was actually Sandy whenever she hired me, because my whole position that I was looking for when I was interviewing was I wanted a paralegal position, but on that day it was not available. It was a everything position, and that wasn't exactly what I was looking for in the aspects of I just went to college, I got my degree, and I wanted to be a paralegal. But I knew that I fell in love with Sandy and Darren, and I knew that it was definitely something to consider. And that's when she said, 6 months, I will have someone up front and move you to the back to your own office. And she did. And so it was her that presented that conversation. But in a similar situation, we are actually interviewing an additional Medicaid paralegal today. So it's where we have gone to her. She's very understanding, and she sees the amount of work, and she sees that we do need some assistance. And so it's been in the works, and we're interviewing and doing different things. So she is very receptive to it. Also, she does understand from individually doing it by herself, she understands what work is involved. So that's where she comes in to kind of fine tune what we're doing behind the scenes and make sure she sees what we're doing, because there might be a way to kind of speed up the process to where we can handle the caseloads that we have.
I hope everyone really heard that she comes in behind the scenes and she reviews the work that we're doing, not from a micromanaging standpoint. And attorneys, again, not to have to take things back. A lot of times attorneys will review things and they might see some errors, or they might see that we're missing a step in the process or things of that nature. And automatically they're like, I just need to do it myself. No one can do it as good as me. And then the control comes in the front seat loud and clear. And what I love about what you said is that her involvement, so it's not micromanaging. It's not lack of trust. It's being involved in a way to speed up the process, and a way for efficiency, and a way for finding a way for you to get in a place of automation, whatever it might be. And many times employees just, again, the mindset is that it's micromanaging.
Not at all. So we're very lucky that she is not like that. You know, she has set the foundation and we communicate with her. And if we're having an issue and we bring it to her, it's very open communication. And I think the biggest thing I could say is just don't be scared of your boss. Your boss wants you there doing a good job as much as you want to be there. And the only way that it's going to work is if you push the fear away and you speak. And that's the only way that it's going to work.
Push the fear away and speak. Wow. So one thing I would say, Jessica, that I'm hearing you really say is that being able to come to your entrepreneur in an honest, well, respectful manner, and to be able to have that conversation from a place of growth, systemization, standardization, whatever it might be.
Right. And so a lot of it was Sandy really set the foundation very strong for me. One of the things that she gave me, and I don't know if this is okay to talk about, was Yes Chick. She gave me Yes Chick. She said, I'll give you $100. Read this book and write a little report on it, and I'll give you $100. And I thought, okay, awesome. Read this awesome book to teach me how to be a better employee for you and how to also keep her going and what my role and what I need to do to be able to keep her going. And so I had all these really awesome tools that have made me who I am and the employee that I am for her.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And for any of our listeners, don't be a yes chick. You can find that on our website. And if you would like a copy, by all means, I'll put a link in there, and I would love to send you a free gift and send you a copy of that book. So I'm so delighted to hear that it was helpful for you, Jessica.
Awesome.
So any parting words, what would you say for our attorneys that are listening today, maybe white knuckling life, or maybe feeling like, oh, I have these employees and nobody's stepping up and leading, and I feel like I'm the only one who cares, and I'm working hard, and I don't feel like, my employees are making life easier on me. They're actually delegating back up. What would be some parting words or some last minute value bombs, if you will, that you'd like to leave for our attorneys of how they can enroll their team members in, or give them permission, and or sit down and have a conversation with them, very much like you did in the initial interview, that might resonate the way that it did for you, for them to see it as an honor, and also be very shifting their mindset from a job into a career, and having that feeling like you had of, wow, this is home.
I think the biggest thing I could say is communication. If something's not working with your employee, tell them. Talk about it. Come up with a plan together. Don't be afraid. The being afraid goes both ways, but come at it from a place from the heart, not from a cutthroat attitude, like get this or get out kind of thing. Because if you want them to stay, then treat them like an equal person. And I think that's also been a big part of it, is our boss has always treated us like we are an equal team member. We are all part of the same team. Yes, she's the boss, but we are all on the same team, and we are all equally as important. We all have a voice. And I think that's why the communication is so good. And I think that's why I'm able to give her what she wants, because she tells me what she wants and I try to give it to her. But if the boss doesn't tell the team exactly what they want, then they're not going to know. And if things are not working, then have a conversation about that. Don't wait until it makes you angry, because then when you talk about it, it's going to come out of anger and not a place from the heart. If you talk about tough things before they get too far, it makes it a lot easier and the results are a lot better.
Wow. So what I'm hearing from you is clear communication in real time. Don't wait until it becomes a blow up session, and being very compassionate. I think of even you in the initial interview where Darren was driven to tears. When you show some compassion and vulnerability and communication of either what's not working from a previous nightmare situation and or employee to this is the experience I want for our clients to have. I think when you come from that place, and schedule some time, don't do it in a hallway conversation. If you don't have this in the fabric of your business, schedule a lunch, a coffee, whatever it might be, to have this very authentic, real, vulnerable conversation with your team, and don't be afraid of it. You might have some hesitation, but if you start with heart, is what I'm hearing you say, and you come from a place of compassion and humanness, then I mean, in my experience, people will get behind you and rally and take a bullet for you all day long when you come from that essence and tonality.
Absolutely.
And if you're an employee, as you were talking, this kind of came to me. If you're an employee and you know your attorney's busy, stressed out, jammed, back to back, or maybe they have absolutely nothing on their calendar, but still stressed and feeling the pressures of the business. One thing, as Jessica was speaking, it just brought me to this pivotal question that you can bring as an employee, maybe scheduling time with your attorney, putting time on their calendar for a lunch, a coffee, whatever it might be, even if it has to be early morning or at the end of the day or after hours, whatever it might be, and schedule a good chunk of time so it's not rushed, and let them know that you're scheduling it because you just want to have a check-in on how you're doing in your role. And one question I often recommend for people to ask is, you can just ask them, what are you not seeing that you're wishing that you can see in the practice in my role from us as an employees that you would like to see to make you feel absolutely delighted and confident to let us run the business so you can focus on the clients and getting the business. So I think that's a really powerful conversation. And what you're doing with that and that one leading question is opening the door for your employer to say, I'm an adult, I can handle it, I'm invested in this business. And it gives you the opportunity to really communicate what's working, what's not working in a way that you don't have to worry about me melting down, quitting, or being in a puddle of tears, if you will. So, Jessica, thank you so much. I think this is a good stopping point for us today. You gave us so much insight in regards to how to support your attorney and make life easier on them, from everywhere paying attention to their calendar, to their time template, to protecting them from unqualified clients, to making certain that everybody on the team understands what it means to support an attorney and really get a glimmer of what their day-to-day life looks like, and really setting those standards and those permissions, and then consistent communication, even sometimes when it might have some essence of conflict or trickiness to it.
You're welcome, Molly. I feel honored that you asked me to do it. So thank you. I enjoyed it as well.
Yes, I've just watched your journey between your law firm and all the amazing things that you're doing with Sandy and Darren speaking everywhere, and your journey as well over the past 8 years of where you started and the team that you've grown. And just, every time I would see you at conferences and what have you, just how you would beam about not only your job, your role, your clients, but also being able to lock arms and work with giants such as Sandy and Darren, because they have very much, created an entrepreneur's world, which you are the truest definition of.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Indeed. So if any of you are interested, I'll put in the show notes for you to stay connected with the Ard Law Firm, reading their blogs, looking at their website, and just seeing truly how through their social channels and their website, the essence of what they do for their clients. You really can get that. You feel like you're walking in their office and sitting in their conference room just by the content that they put out there. If you are not following them on Facebook, I highly recommend, so you can see all the amazing speaking engagements, client appreciation event, referral appreciation things that they do along their community, and just learn from what Sandy and Darren are doing across their area. It's just absolutely inspiring and very, very fun to watch as well. So we've reached the end of yet another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. And this podcast was about when your employee is desperate and committed to make life easier on you as the attorney and the entrepreneur. And as always, you can find us at hiringandempowering.com. And this has been another episode where legal dream teams of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs world really do come true. Until next time.